What's going on, Orlando? Happy Thursday night. Good to see you all from wherever you're watching tonight. Actually, we're going to start out tonight's show like we do every night, asking you where exactly you guys are watching from. It does let us know kind of where our viewers are watching, where we can better create and curate our content to make sure that we're doing something that's a bit more up your alley, if you will. So we've already got Sean checking in from Claremont. Good to see you, my friend. We've got other people checking in tonight, and I got a whole bunch of things we're talking about, really around real estate and also like theme park iDrive hotel sort of things, and a little bit of things in between there. We're going to talk about your questions and answers, so make sure you drop those things down below. We've got Steve B checking in from Mount Juliet, Tennessee, working with Aaron to relocate to the area. That's fantastic. Super excited. What's going on? Chase says everything's sounding great tonight. I'm excited about that. We got Jason checking in from New England. Good to see you, Jason Silva. I got Robert hanging out in Claremont here locally. Brenda watching from St. Charles. We got Bailey hanging out, turning in during my workouts, probably somewhere in the Dr. Phillips area, if I was to guess. Walter checking in from upstate New York. John hanging out with us from Brockport, another New Yorker, and other people local. So make sure you keep dropping out comments down below. It does let me know kind of where you're watching from, but then also drop your questions down below. This is my favorite part of the show, where we get to kind of go back and forth, even though I'm the one here talking, but hearing your questions and then also kind of the back and forth from the community. That's also helps us along the way. So one of the things I want to talk about first and foremost today, which I thought was kind of interesting, going back through, let me get this over here. Interesting was the whole primary election season. So last week we had primaries, and actually on the 20th we had the primaries, and it was interesting to see the overall turnout in Orange County. Orlando Weekly had a article this week that said that primary day election results for Orange County and Orlando. If you start going through here, the polls on Tuesday, August 20th, roughly 16% of our area turned out to go there. So going to election day, there's more 1.9 million voters in Florida that already had cast their ballots either through mail-in ballot or early voting. And that was actually before things started out here. But if you look at the voter turnout here locally, it was just 16%, with 129,000 of 811,000 eligible voters that actually cast their votes here locally. And it's interesting to me because there's a lot of things that happened. There was commissioners, there were like other things that actually matter that are going to be kicked down to the ballot in November. And yet it's interesting, like these off cycles. And so I was asking people in our community, asking people on Instagram, did you know that today was voting day? And did you vote? Or many people would respond back and say, well, I didn't really know what was on the ballot, and was it even kind of important? I remember last year when we voted for mayor and that off cycle, I think it was like 15% of the city turns out. So it's wild to me because 100% of people have opinions, and yet only 15% of the people vote. So I'm just curious, like why that might be in your what do you think? Why is that? You get to vote with your question and your comment down below today. Let's see. We got Frank checking in from Montreal, Canada, moving to Orlando shortly. We got Mr. Khan checking in from Dr. Phillips. Skippy watching from Windermere. That's amazing. Lanique watching from Orlando. Chet says I'm pumping out content like a madman. I love it, man. Thank you. We've got an amazing team. Like, we've got an incredible staff of content creators, and then we're all passionate about Orlando and showing off and telling our story. Let's see. We got Martin checking in from Illinois. Let's see. Miami Coffee checking in. Let's see. Case is a good question for us. Puppy Bumper says, hey, as a first-time home buyer, where should I look to find an affordable home in Orlando? What area should I recommend? And should I be looking at townhomes? Oh, this is a great question, Mr. Chase. So listen, I think that affordable homes, as always have been, the farther out you go, the cheaper things are going to become. And if you look at a townhome overall, I think you have to weigh the pros and cons of a homeowners association. Now, some homeowners associations are crazy expensive. They're $500, $600, $700 a month. Other ones are on the cheaper side, depending on what you get. And so depending on, there's townhomes downtown Orlando, there's townhomes out in Claremont and Groveland area. And so depending on where you're at is going to affect your overall affordability. Now, there are some interesting other ones talking about affordability, and make sure you keep dropping your questions down below and letting us know where you're watching from. But there's this interesting thing. This is actually a great article from the Growth Spotter, our friends over there. They actually went really deep in here. Tyler, one of the newer writers over there, put this together. But if you look over here, Orange County aims to increase workforce housing by offering free building plans. And what does this actually even mean? When I first saw this, I was like, Free building plans. Okay, great. Well, I don't even know what that means, but basically, they've created 8 different pre-approved designs at no charge. To where if you want to go in here and either create an ADU, which an ADU is an accessory dwelling unit, this would be something like over your garage. This is what it would look like right here. If you want to create this, it's roughly well, this one's 708 square feet over your garage. Or if you want to create one of these smaller homes, this one's 500 square feet. This one's 600 square feet. You've got some of them that are all the way up to 1,400 square feet. That if you are a developer or you want to put one in your backyard and rent that out, that they're going to pre-approve these things. And at first go, you're like, okay, great. Why are they doing this? A, because waiting for plans to come back from the county is a very long process. And they're actually saying in the article that if you make any changes to the plans at all, that it's going to tack on a lot more time. But if you take the plan as is, you take a site plan and you take one of their pre-approved plans and you submit it to the county, they will rubber stamp it basically in a week, which would cut down time. And they're hoping that this spurs kind of like more affordable growth. Now you'll notice that the properties are like 500 to roughly 1,500 square feet, which not huge at all, right? And they're saying that, well, hey, listen, to combat affordable housing, that you should build smaller places, which does make sense. And land is so incredibly expensive, and you've got impact fees and a whole bunch of other things that make that's why developers typically build larger projects, because the more square footage you can fit on the lot, the more ROI you can get. And so they're saying in the article, and then also from comments from the county, it's like, well, we're trying to figure out how to make this cheaper. Maybe if we offer out something like this, this would actually be an affordable solution. So here's some of the other houses. You got the Mini Ola. This is a 1-story, 1,400 square foot home, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That would be approved. I think these are cute. I mean, you look at the houses that were built in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Many of them were roughly this size. A nice 3-bedroom, 3-bath. I mean, heck, I grew up in a house that was like roughly 1,000 square feet, and we were totally fine, right? But now everybody's sort of accustomed to 2,500 square feet on up with all these new construction homes we have here. The problem is making it pencil. And so as you dig deeper into this article, it starts talking about in 2023, Groveland actually launched a program aimed at increasing the amount of missing middle housing stock. So it's like that, again, not even the entry level townhomes or condos and not the luxury, but everything kind of in that middle where you could build something for in the high 300s or so. And if you start going through, Groveland and kind of created this exact initiative last year. And they said, hey, we're going to have pre-approved designs in Groveland, including ADUs, single family homes. And basically Orange County said, hey, we're going to keep that and do the same thing. Groveland also is offering duplex options, because duplexes, especially if you're house hacking, where you buy a duplex, you live in one side and rent the other one off, and then somebody else helps you pay off your home. Groveland was hoping that this would spur growth, right? And so Orange County said, oh, great idea. But I don't know if they did, but slowing down and asking, well, did it work? Should have been the question that they ask. Like, Groveland did it last year. That's great. Is this going to work in Orange County? Well, apparently, according to this article, Groveland's community said, hey, listen, nobody's actually followed through. And we've had a couple duplex builders who almost used the plans, but then they ended up just designing their own duplexes and really didn't do anything else. I think going forward, maybe we're going to tailor some plans or come up with plans that are something that are a little bit more accustomed to building. Obviously, cost is the big factor. So let me know. I mean, like, listen, I think honestly, these smaller homes are a great idea. If you can make them effectively work and pencil, more developers would do it. We're going to see. So let me jump over here. Let's see. Martin says, I'd rather find a small falling apart family home other than a townhome or especially a condo. Let's see. I'm going to scroll back up here. See, Dawn checking in from Rhode Island. Let's see. Fireclip says, hey, I've got a friend in Mexico City that bought a home in Golden Oak. I'm thinking about buying something near Disney for a vacation home use. Yeah, listen, we help tons and tons of people. L. Robert says, hey, Laura, watching from Austin, Texas, working with Kristen from your team. She is amazing. I'm so glad you're working with her. That's great. Let's see, going through here, jumping through Barcelona, Spain. Emmy checking in from Barcelona. Oh, what's going on, Emmy? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're writing something amazing over there. John checking in from the UK. So yeah, okay. So here's the thing. So I started going back through and saying, okay, what other builders are offering maybe smaller, more affordable single family homes? Because if builders are doing it in their developments, then they've been able to make it pencil one way or the other. One layout that I think is actually pretty great. It's 1,700 square feet, 1,791 square feet. This is actually by Ashton Woods in Northlake. This is in the Horizon West area, and it starts from 493. Like, is that super affordable? No, it's not super affordable, because then you also have lot premiums and some other things. But in terms of single family homes, really great layout, 2-car garage attached. I think this is a really great one. Let's see, view home plan. I think we've actually done a walkthrough on this on our Instagram over on Pozek group. But anyhow, going through here, nice open floor plan. You can kind of see 3 bedrooms in the back. Let's see over here. Is this going to work? Ooh, this might work. It does work on the live. Here we go. Get rid of us over here. And so functionally, it's great kitchen. You've got the living room up front, and then you've got a bedroom up here, and then another one in the back that attaches over to the garage. So you're thinking probably at 493 is the actual base price. You're probably thinking $50,000 for the overall lot premium, and then some upgrades. You're probably looking high fives for something like that, which again, not super affordable when you're looking the overall average sales price in Orlando is right around high fours, low fives. But smaller home. And I think there's gonna be a lot more people that are looking for stuff like that. And so let me know down below if you're like thinking about, I'd rather, should I rent? Should I buy a small home? Should I buy a townhome? Which of those 3 options would you consider? JJ checking in from Hunters Creek. The mayor of Hunters Creek is in the building, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Bailey says, hey, it looks great. I love the smaller size, like the 2,000 square foot plus homes. I agree. I mean, I think I do believe that some of these really large homes get to be absolutely insane the way that some of these roll out. So hoping that more of these kind of pop up. Let's talk about the code though, because this is another kind of thing that I find that's sort of interesting. When you think about the overall Orange County code, they're going through this whole new thing called the Orange Code. So this is basically where they're trying to take the city and going through, actually, let's see if I can show you this. They're trying to take the city and divide it up into different 6 unique graphical areas to help guide placemaking in terms of development. And so they're going through and trying to implement this new thing to make Orange County itself a little bit easier to develop. Now, this wouldn't really affect some of the more smaller neighborhoods is what they say. And yet I've talked to other developers this week asking, is this something that would actually help you guys going through with a more seamless code or not? Because here's what I'm hearing all over and over from every developer and builder that I'm talking to is that Orange County itself is actually the one slowing down a lot of this process. And so if they can figure this out and hopefully make development easier, maybe more developers would put more product on the market and hopefully bring down prices or at least slow them down. That's the overall thought there. Let me know what you guys think. Diz Gem checking in from Horizon West. Good to see you. Let's see. Let's see, Rhonda or somebody. Parada says, hey, Ken, I'm a realtor in Orlando. I've been looking at your lives recently. I'd love to be a part of one. What's the best way to do a potential collab? You can hit me up on Instagram. Oh, anybody can do that. Skippy has a good question. How do property taxes work when buying a home in Florida with homesteaders discount? So I'm guessing you're saying like a homestead discount. So a homestead discount is basically where if you say this is your primary residence, I'm going to live there for like over 6 months a year, you actually get a $50,000 assessment break. So if your taxes, say your house is assessed at $400,000, now they're going to assess it basically off of 350, and then you're going to be able to have a lower tax bill because of that. Also, the rate at which taxes can go up is capped instead of having to worry about your taxes just kind of going up with the price of inflation or the price of overall values in the area. There's also other ones out there for veterans and seniors and some other stuff that Florida offers, but the homestead discount is a pretty easy one to kind of knock out. David asks, hey, how's the apartment locator business in Orlando? That's a good question. We get asked all the time if we help with rentals, and it's interesting because property managers out there are just not super friendly many times. They want to manage and kind of lease out their own properties, and so they don't love working with real estate agents. So many times what we do is we either charge like a fee to help you guys find a property, or we just kind of give you a quick consult on like different areas if you have questions, but it's usually most of the time you're reaching out directly to the property manager and getting an idea from there. That would be a really good, actually a really good business though, if we could get somebody that's specifically that way. Um, Clash says, "Hey, I tried to go in that one community you called Bella Collina you mentioned last week, and they wouldn't even let me in to see the model houses. Made me feel like they're very judgy." I mean, that's a gated community, right? So they want to make sure you have to have an appointment many times, and so there's actually a greeter. They've got it right outside of the gates to the right. Dawn is usually on staff there, and she'll hang out with you and walk you through. But really, having something set up with one of those builders out there is going to be the easiest way. If you have an appointment, that's the way to get in. You can't just unfortunately pop in. Model homes, there's some spec homes and that kind of thing, but like there's no row of models like there are in so many other places where you can see 10 houses at once and get an idea. You're typically setting up an appointment, or obviously reach out to us. We can set you up an appointment as well and walk you through all of your different options. Ashley, what's going on from Meadowwoods? Good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Carla hanging out from Pittsburgh. Johnny in Livonia, Michigan. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So JJ mentions, what are my thoughts around District 1 Commissioner recount? It spans from Hunters Creek all the way out to Winter Garden. Yeah, so I think it was Nicole Wilson and Austin Arthur. They were running against each other. This is crazy. This is why when people say like, oh, voting doesn't matter, or like, you know, or when you hear like every vote counts, like they're actually only separated by from what sounds like 5 votes. So they're going to a recount, and we'll see what happens there. But that's wild to me. Like when you think 5, like what did either of them have to do to go get like one more family to vote for them or something like that? But it's crazy. Some of these, especially these off cycles when not a lot of people show up, it matters more than ever to show up for your people and to vote for the things that you are passionate about, whatever side of the aisle that you might be on. Fireclip says, "Hey, if I buy a home in Orlando as a vacation home, are there any good companies who can maintain my home when I'm away?" So yes and no. So there's a lot of bad ones out there, and there's also a couple good ones. And the good ones usually charge a little bit more, but you've got a lot of fly-by-night companies here in Central Florida. We've got people that specialize in short-term rentals in the area. Many times they don't have to be licensed. They have to have maybe like a business license, but it's pretty easy to get started and very low barrier to entry to get started. So there's a lot of them. And so my suggestion would be either reach out and we can help you find a really good one, or look on the reviews and make sure that like you're digging deep to understand what are they charging, what are they actually willing to do, how often are they going to visit your house, are they renting it out for you, or are they just doing like site visits? There's a lot of different options there. It's actually also, it is a very good business because there are so many bad property managers out there that like good ones stand out, the few of them that there are. And so actually something that we've always sort of considered, is it something that we want to do? Let's see. Carla says, "Hey, I'm looking forward to work with you in the near future. My husband is in Orlando right now to secure a contract and hopefully move there in December of 2025. That's fantastic. Well, hopefully the contract goes well and that he travels well." Frank says, "Hey, great channel. I'm looking to build something with about $1 million. So far, we have enjoyed Pulte since we can design center. Any others you'd recommend that we can do a design center versus prepackaged choices?" Yeah. So like, you know, typically Lennar, D.R. Horton, Ryan Homes, there's like maybe 7 or 8 ones that are like more very like production builders. They're going to say, hey, either they're going to buy a spec home or you get to choose one of these 4 or 5 packages and that's all you get. The next tier up from there, you're going to have a lot more options. Again, like I like Ashton Woods, I like Toll Brothers, I like Pulte, I like there's good 4 or 5 other like really good ones. Jones Homes is a really great one, and every builder and every development is going to offer something a little bit different and how customized you can actually get. Now the crazy thing is maybe 18 months ago, builders were not doing many customizations at all. They would rather build a spec home, and today there's getting more and more customizations and more builders allowing you to do things that they never were doing before. Like, you know, maybe not moving walls, but like, hey, I want to change that window into a door, and like little things like that are starting to trickle back into the market where you're getting not custom homes, but semi-custom things, or they're trying to offer more to feel like, hey, you can be part of the process instead of just taking whatever you get, which I think is actually good. Emmy says that they're starting to ban short-term rentals in Barcelona starting in 2029. Let me know down below why that is, Emmy. Is it more so from a home ownership kind of thing? Is it because I mean, I can come up with a bunch of reasons why not to, but I'm definitely curious. Speaking of short-term rentals, and make sure you keep asking your questions down below. If you guys are just joining us, we had a bunch more people pop in here. Make sure you let us know where you're watching from, and also drop your questions down below. So let's talk a little bit about the iDrive area. Now, this is something that might sound insane to some people, especially if you've lived here before or you visited here before. Maybe iDrive isn't your jam. I remember coming here before I lived in Orlando and came to iDrive, always stayed over there because we would be at the convention center. Every time I come here for a real estate convention, we stayed over on iDrive. And that's all I'd ever really thought of when I thought of Orlando. It was that and Disney. That was pretty much it. And so there's starting to be this interesting kind of shift over there now because of Epic Universe being so darn close. But check this out. So over the past week, Hyatt completes a sale of $1 billion. This is the Hyatt Regency right over by the convention center. And it's actually going to be the highest highest hotel sale in all of the United States for 2024 thus far. And then you start thinking about like what else is coming to that area. And so again, back over to the Growth Spotter, they had an article here where Intercontinental Orlando luxury hotel coming to iDrive. And so this is going to be, appears one of Unicorp's 2 that they're going to be building over there. So there's a 784 room hotel to be part of a $1.5 billion redevelopment of the former Wyndham Resort and Convention Center at 801 International Drive. So if you're curious at where this is actually right over, if you know what Cooper's Hawk is, this is iDrive right here. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. Back. So if you got Sand Lake up top here, and International Drive is up and down in the middle of the screen. So you got the Wyndham Resort. Apparently this whole conference center right over here is going to be shut down and shuttered. I am kind of curious what that's going to do to Cooper's Hawk, which I know a lot of people that in my world anyways enjoy Cooper's Hawk, but you've got a lot of things up and down here. You've got Red Robin, you've got escape rooms and all kinds of stuff. You've got Tom's new wash bar up on top across the street. But that'll be interesting to see some of these like more higher end hotels. Hopefully that pops over there. There we go. Some of these higher end hotels would pop up. Let's see. Comments. Boom. There we go. Perfect. That are popping up over there. I think it is fascinating. And then you start thinking about what Universal is doing. I think this is also fascinating. You've got, this is over on our website, the Orlando Real, just today, Universal's Grand Hotel, actually what's coming, the Helios. They did a first look and kind of going through what's going to be offered over there. So these rooms, I think, are fantastic. They're doing a really great job. So this is going to be number 11 hotel, Lowe's hotel that's going to be in the area. There's over 11,000 hotel rooms that they have between Universal, but specifically the Helios. These renderings, now we all know renderings can be deceiving, and yet these things look fantastic. Like they're just another level of anything I've ever seen coming out of Universal. This is a 360 view of Epic Universe inside of the hotel. Some of the amenities are fantastic. Looks like a lazy river is going to be in here. A lot of really cool things coming to that area. So again, you've got iDrive area. You've got the Hyatt that's going to be doubling its size. The one that just sold for $1 billion. It's like 1,400 rooms right now. It's going to be an additional like 2,000 rooms. So what the heck's going on over there? You've got literally billions of dollars of hotels movement. And then Epic Universe. Does that mean iDrive is finally going to become something maybe a little bit different? You've got a $500 million investment over into the convention center that will eventually come online. So I'm excited. I'm actually going to an event on the 3rd of September to hear more about it and some of their plans that they're going to be unveiling. So I'll make sure to shoot some content on that when it does come out. Let's see. Emmy says it's similar to what's happening. Mass tourism. This is going back to why Barcelona is going to be kind of taken out on short-term rentals. But Emmy says mass tourism is causing housing crisis for locals. Yeah, it's interesting. Don says not enough housing for locals in Barcelona and prices are very high. Yeah, I get that. I mean, we had the run up so much in our area where you had so many of these short-term rental communities popping up and making things super unaffordable. Now there's not as much demand as there were 2, 3, 4 years ago. Prices have really come down. And so when we talk about pocket markets and like other areas that are crushing it versus ones that aren't as much, short-term rental markets definitely have pulled back, whereas some of the more suburban areas are still either flat or improving. It's kind of wild. JJ said, if I go to the Point lately, it seems like there's position for the next hotspot, taking some nightlife away from downtown Orlando. I think that's Yes, I saw that there's like 4 or 5 new spots going in there. I was at the comedy club there not too long ago, and they were talking about doing an open air bar right across the street, right across the hall, I guess, more so. Parking there is actually not bad, right? I thought, you think I drive, like where do you park? There's a huge parking lot back there, super easy to get in and out of. Um, yeah, I mean, it's got all the makings of doing something really, really cool. We'll see what happens. Charles says, "Hey Ken, do you know the new construction that just started on Sidell Road?" No, but I drove by there earlier today. I snapped a picture because I wanted to jump into permitting data, so I'll make sure I do that later on today. I saw they've got 7 or 8 bulldozers back there taking down trees, at least in a long line. I don't know. I'm going to find out. Families R Us says, "Hey, it's crazy how the majority of people spending over 1 million don't care about backyards now in these days in Orlando. I think that's everywhere, and it does not over $1 million. It's 500, it's 1 million, it's all over. I think people get into this idea of like buying up amenities in the neighborhoods and then also having, if it's a pool in their backyard that they're just fine with. But yeah, I mean, buyers are going to continue. If buyers are willing to pay for it, developers are going to keep building it. So as long as as long as there's still buyers coming, they're going to keep doing that. It's kind of interesting. Leo says, "Can I recommend any areas to do a light rehab and resale?" I mean, if light rehab, you're going to be looking, I think, something in like the 20-ish year range, right? So you've got like Waterford Lakes, Oviedo's great, really strong prices over there, but a lot of the housing stock is like 20 to 25 years old. So you're talking maybe countertops, carpet, paint, like easy kind of stuff. If that's the stuff you're looking for. Um, yeah, I would look at, there's places at Horizon West, Independence area that was built in like 2000 to 2003. Many of those are light remodels. Like if you were looking for a good townhouse, easy sort of 15 to 1800 square foot remodel. They're all over. I mean, it's finding them that are slightly under market. What we're looking at as investors right now are what are the houses that are on the market for the longest, the houses that I see that are sitting for 120, 140, 180 days. And we go in with those and offer them like, an offer that makes sense for us to go in and rehab. So seeing that quite a bit. Brett is checking in from Miami, working from Riley from our office. She's awesome. I'm so glad to hear. We can't wait to be to get in our house in Sunbridge. Riley's awesome. I think she told me the other day. I forget the number. It's a lot. She's been helping a lot of people in Sunbridge, and I'm so glad to hear that because I do think that the neighborhood is going to be popping. Families R Us says, "I visited Orlando from Texas. My last question is, what in the world happened to all the backyards?" Oh yeah, yeah. That's the first part of the question. Yeah, so Brenda, I agree. So the Universal announcement with the Helios Grand Hotel, it looks incredible. I think not only that, you got the Helios hotel, and then you got the 2 up front. I'm kind of curious what those are going to be priced at, because if there's anything like Endless Summer, I think that it's gonna be hard to stop them. Also, another reason why I think that some of the short-term rentals are starting to see slide back in their numbers, because if you had to stay on property and it's actually affordable, I get it. Some people want to take 10 people and put them in a short-term rental. And at that point, it's easy, $300-400 a night to fit 5-6 people, no problem. But if you're looking at some of these other new hotels and it's just maybe you and a couple kids, why wouldn't you stay on property for like 180 to 250 a night? It makes more sense in my opinion. And then you don't have to take the trash out and stuff like that. I am curious. Like, this would actually be a good study. If you guys care about Orlando because you're watching our channel, would you rather, even if you're doing a staycation, whether you're visiting us or you're doing a staycation, would you rather go stay at a hotel on property, assuming that the pricing is roughly the same, go to a hotel on property, or stay in a short-term rental? And how much of a premium would you be willing to pay for a hotel? Because I know for a long time, hotels got to be really expensive, and the value differential was like, oh, I'm definitely going to go over to a short-term rental. But that's just not the case as much anymore. Static says, "Hey, just a fun question. What's the most expensive neighborhood to live in all of Orlando?" Well, the most expensive price per square foot would be Golden Oak at Walt Disney World. That's where a lot of the houses are selling for, low end $1,300-1,400 a square foot. And it's much higher than that, $1,600 a square foot. You look at the new condos that are coming over there, those are going to be starting at $5 million and roughly 3,000 square feet. So start thinking about that. It's definitely the most expensive. Now, where the highest price homes are selling, Isleworth and Winter Park. So Windermere and Winter Park are 2 of the highest prices as well. Here we go. We got people checking in on our thing. So we got Craig says on property for sure. Ken says on property all day. Pumpy Bumper says on hotel all day. Yeah. And this is why I think the short-term game, this is why the short-term game's struggling right now. And like, listen, I'm a real estate agent. I sell real estate. And I tell people all the time, like, if you're going to buy a short-term rental, buy it not because it's the greatest investment possible. Buy it because your family is going to come use it for a few weeks a year and you want to offset the cost of your vacation home. And that's how it was for like pre-pandemic. That was our world here locally. Yes, you had Airbnb investors and short-term rental investors, but most of the time it was people that lived in the UK that wanted to come here, or lived in Brazil that wanted to come here, Canada that wanted to come here for a month out of the year. And while they weren't here, they were renting it to someone else. And that all the time made sense. It was when people were like, hey, I'm going to buy something and I'm hoping to make $2,000 a month from every short-term rental that I buy. Unless you're paying cash, it's just not there, unfortunately. Ashley said she would stay at a hotel. Let's see. Fire Clip says, $5 million condos in Golden Oak. My friend just bought his home in Golden Oak at $3 million. Well, sir, I would, or ma'am, Fire Clip's a hard one to guess here. There's not been anything that's sold under 4.5 million home-wise for at least the past year. And they've really gone up from there. So maybe near Golden Oak, but nothing for 3 million. Brendan says, we're a family of 7 and we love property, villas, or suites. So does this mean like, so have you been to the like Evermore over there? Like, have you seen the villas over there? Those actually are fantastic. Like that's actually where you've got sort of an Airbnb feel, but on property. I know there's been a lot of press around Evermore, and yet I still don't think people fully realize what's there. Because yeah, you've got the Conrad Hotel and that's beautiful and fine. But the housing on there where you can stay at one of the flats or one of the houses or one of the villas that they've remodeled, that actually, that would make a lot of sense. Because you get all the amenities of being on a property, but it feels like a house. And I don't know of any other neighborhoods that are like that or developments that are like that. I mean, says, I'll go back. I'm actually fascinated about this. So in Barcelona, Madrid, and the Canary Islands, short-term rentals have gotten so bad that rentals are now like 2,000 when they were less than 800. Jason said, I hope that the Helios isn't over $1,000 a night. Me too. That's actually like kind of curious to me. Let's see, like what's the best place to stay at Disney World? What would you guys say is like the best place? I'm gonna guess myself, but I think. See what you guys think. Let's see, check availability, room rates. Let's try, say we're just checking in this weekend. I know that's like last minute, but 2 adults, couple days, find a room. Let's see what happens. So 742, let's see, no, thank you. 742 on the low end, club levels, 1225 a night, which seems lower than it used to be. Theme park view is 867, water view 700. So the Grand Floridian resort view 742. It's lower than it used to be, and obviously it is August. Kids are back to school, so maybe it's not high season. But like, yeah, I agree. I think they're going to be able to charge at least this. So in the 7s, it'll be interesting. Static says, hey, there's a popular YouTuber called the Hamilton Collection with a $30 million car collection, just bought a house in Windermere. I need to see this car. You should tell them, at them on their YouTube and be like, hey, this guy wants to see your house. The JT couple says, Disney Fort Wilderness is my favorite. We went to Hoop De Doo review and it was awesome. But I've never stayed there before. But my daughter, after seeing it, after watching the show, was like, why don't we hang out here more? So we got to go get on some horses over there for sure. Brenda says, I'm a travel agent, so I've learned a lot about Evermore, but haven't had the chance to stay yet. We tend to rent DVC points at a 2 to 3 bedroom villa at Disney. Yeah, it's hard to beat that as well. But yeah, go check out Evermore. Even if you're visiting just to go like eat there, I think it's a cool thing. What other stories do we have here? I want to go back over here. So I think this is interesting. Back to real estate. So this is actually by Morningstar. They came out with an article today. Actually, it's in Fortune, but Morningstar makes a bold prediction that they call for housing market affordability will be restored in 2025. So, what does that actually mean? And as you go back through here, basically, Morningstar is thinking that rates, because they spiked from 3% to 7% during the housing pandemic boom, it sent prices up like 40%. And so that says here that there's only three levers that they can actually pull on housing affordability moving forward. You either have falling mortgage rates, falling home prices, or rising income, or a little bit of everything. But due to the financial market volatility, mortgage rates are easiest lever to pull. So Lance Lampert, I follow him over on X, they expect that the mortgage rates are going to decline to 4% by 2025. What do you think about that? Do you believe that that's possible? Do you think that that's actually in the realm? I mean, it is the easiest lever to pull. You look at the jobs report, has been revised over the past year. Everybody was saying, oh, the jobs are great. There's so many jobs being created, blah, 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 blah. Well, they actually had to revise the job report down by almost 1 million jobs over the past year. So the job market's not as strong as we once thought. So we're probably not going to see incomes climb as fast as we thought they were going to be. And pricing on homes, while like I mentioned earlier, in some places have pulled back. Austin is one of them. Some other places, we're not seeing crazy pullbacks here locally. So the easiest one would be to lower interest rates. And so they believe that the 10-year Treasury and the Fed is going to eventually lower rates to combat this. Obviously, all of us would rejoice, and yet, who knows? Mr. Sean says, hey, have I ever thought about, let me know down below, by the way. I just dropped that on you guys, and I'm going back to your comments. So Mr. Sean says, hey, have you ever considered doing a haunted run? I think I'm going to do the Hollow Scream haunted run over at SeaWorld this year. I think it's like 5K. So just for fun. But if you know of any other haunted runs, I'm down for that for sure. King Jose Vlog says, hey, what's going on? Hope you have an amazing week. Good to see you, man. Thanks for checking in. Dan says, I would love to see interest rates go to 4% or less. Dan, let me know what you think about this. If you'd like to see it go to 4% or less, is that because are you currently renting and you'd love to buy? Do you want the market to just do better because it's better? Or do you already own and you're locked into a low rate? And if you saw a lower rate, it would cause you to move. I feel like there's like 3 people out in the world right now thinking that way. I'm just sort of curious your thought. The JT couple says, the resident here in Bella Collina, they just built this nice $7 million house that looked like Tony Stark's house, was in Parade of Homes this year. Is that the house you're talking about touring last week? No, there's a different one. We actually, there's one that just closed. It wasn't in the Parade of Homes, but we sold it to them. They're going to be renting it out for the next year and then selling it. Just the job transfer, it sounds like, didn't go through. So I want to see this house though. So now I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow. That'd be cool to do a video there. We actually did a video today in Isleworth. So if you've never been to Isleworth or seen it or heard what it is one of the most expensive neighborhoods in all of Central Florida. And from what I saw, they actually don't allow many tours in terms of people doing video content there. But I talked them into it because our channel's been growing because you guys watch. So make sure you hit the subscribe if you haven't already, or at least the thumbs up. That would mean a lot. But we're getting cooler and cooler opportunities to go see cool stuff like this. So I toured 2 houses today, one at 6.9 million and another one at 13 million. And then we did a tour of the clubhouse and some of the amenities. This is where like Tiger Woods used to live, Bubba Watson, Shaq, Wesley Snipes, some of the like the not the Backstreet Boys, but boy bands that were here, huge here, all used to live there. And now you're seeing a lot of houses there get either torn down and rebuilt into something huge or just completely remodeled. So the 2 houses we saw were like crazy remodeled, and just I'm excited. So that video will probably come out, I think, next Wednesday. So be on the lookout there. I'm trying to show off some cool stuff. Dan, back to your question. So you said we live in Omaha with a 2.5%, but we want to move to Orlando in the next year or 2. See, that's it. You got a lot of people in the 2s, like just to throw my business on the street here. Like my wife and I, we've got a mortgage in the 2s. It's on a 15-year. We've paid it off for the past few years. So it's like we feel like really, really good staying. And the only thing that would really cause us to consider moving up to something different is if rates were in the 4s. Because am I going to go out and triple, quadruple my mortgage payment for a house that's maybe not even that much nicer? Maybe it's a better view or something like that. I'm not going to. And so I'm one of the ones that are locked into my home. We're just going to stay where it's at, make it a little nicer. We love it anyways. The layout's great. But I think there's a lot of people out there that are choosing to stay put because they love their interest rate. Now, there's plenty of other people though that are in different life events. They've got, they're married, they got divorced, they've got babies, the kids moved out, they got a job offer. There's millions of people. And here locally, there's still like over 1,100 homes selling every single week, which is still pretty darn strong. So it's not everybody, but yeah, man, it's not everybody that's locked in, but I'm one of them. Let's see. Let's see. JJ says, saw your reel on why do you think Dr. Phillips is forgotten about? Everyone from Lake Nona, Hunters Creek, Winter Garden, probably all go to Dr. Phillips for Restaurant Row. I know, man, but I'm just saying, like, when people reach out to us, it's just not the number one place that they want to move to. It's almost like they find it over time. And so when I say it wasn't forgotten about, it's just more so like underrated. Like, I think they go visit there. Yeah. But it's like, if you're moving to the area, is the way I was thinking about it. Other ones that were people were mentioning, like Winter Springs, definitely forgot about Hidden Gem. Metro West, somebody mentioned Metro West, and we got roasted about that being a forgotten sort of area. But it is more affordable. It's right next to Windermere, and it's right next to Dr. Phillips. And so a lot of people have forgotten about it. So I think that's what we were talking about. But anyways, you didn't forget about Dr. Phillips, but I'm telling you, people move here and they're like, I've heard of Lake Nona. I've heard of Horizon West. I've heard of Winter Park. Where else should I consider? And then I'm like, have you ever considered Dr. Phillips? And so, yeah, there we go. Oh, shut up. This is awesome. Linique says, hey, I actually got a full-time offer at Bank of New York Mellon. I applied after you mentioned it on the pod, UCF grad this fall. That is insane. That is so congratulations, man. I think it's going to be massive. That whole area and them investing that much money in the area, I'm excited for you, man. So keep me posted on it. Like, if you don't follow me over on Instagram, please do. I'd love to follow your expensive. Or somebody says, so why so expensive, Dr. Phillips? I'd love to follow your journey. That's so darn cool. Chet mentioned, when do I think Church Street will rebound? That's a great question. There was actually an article I didn't get to look fully about, but I want to do it right with you guys. Because there's a new footpath thing that I was reading it just literally before the show. Here we go. See the changes coming to downtown. Uh-oh. There we go. See the changes coming to downtown Orlando's Church Street station. And so you look at kind of like the whole walking paths have been widened. And so they're actually going to be turning in these streets to where you're not going to have as many cars that can fit through. It looks to me as though you can fit like 2 cars right here. Let me see. There you go. So you can see they actually expanded the walking paths, making it a very walkable area, which it kind of already was to begin with, but I think it looks really great. And then you've got sort of like the brick road streets, which are already there. But I think as they invest more into this area, the more businesses are going to be willing to give it a go. Right now, it's almost like a game of chicken, in my opinion. People are like, do we want to invest the money into new restaurants and new shops? Everything's closing. And you got the Bumby Arcade. It was supposed to be started. I actually got to drive by. If you've seen it, Chet, let me know. But they were supposed to start it this month in terms of actually remodeling the interior and getting going on that food hall. But they need something. They need like some like gutsy move to start going. And I think that it's going to spur a lot of activity. But you've got so many things that are shut down over there that it's like, it's hard. I mean, during the day, you don't have as much foot traffic as you want. And so if you're a business owner, you're like, where am I going? I'm going to go to the Point on freaking iDrive and open a spot there for nightlife. And so I think that as kind of like Westcourt comes online with the Orlando Magic, and you've got, Travel and Leisure coming down there, I think that as those people start having more and more foot traffic, businesses on Church Street are going to crush it. But it's kind of that chicken and egg, like which one's going to actually come first. So we'll see. Wargy says, hey, please do more lives or longer lives. Very enjoyable to watch. Man, that means the world. I tell you what, these are literally my favorite things that I get to do. I don't get to do 52 of them a year anymore, but I promise that I do at least 40 of them a year. Sometimes I'm traveling, sometimes I'm whatever, but these are by far some of my most favorite things I do. Anthony says, hey, any update on Wyld Oaks and Apopka? I actually did a whole video here on this channel about Apopka. It's maybe 3 or 4 videos back, and I talk all about Wild Oak. So check it out. But I'll give you the quick dirty. They're moving roads. They're cutting in roads. There's stuff going on like crazy. And so I believe the multifamily is going to be first. So they're going to be building apartment buildings first. And then very shortly after that, will be coming residential. This is my guess. This isn't what they've said, but my guess would be that they're probably going to be selling in 2025, which would mean you can move in like 2026. That'd be my guess, just based on where things look right now. But they are very active and things are going, it looks to be very well. Orgy says, I look forward to every Thursday for Ken's Lives. Thank you, man. Hoon Family says, we love our original house. We've been there since 2004, 20 years. Property tax is low. We just get to upgrade it. Our kids love it. The HOA is $120 a month. We brought homes from all over the place. Yeah, there you go. A lot of people stuck in their house on purpose, which is okay. Chet says, haven't drive been recently. I'm waiting for Bumby. Totally agree with the chicken and the egg. I just think about that, man. Like, if I'm you need to see something, right? Like I went to, I'm going to interview on the pod, but if you ever seen like Curate, it's Q, like create, but with a Q, opened up a new spot, new coffee shop. The coffee was amazing, really cool vibes in Creative Village. I went there just this week, and he's kind of like in that spot where you open up a coffee shop and you're waiting for all the kids at UCF to show up to school, but you're also like hoping that there's enough traffic from like EA Entertainment across the street. And I just think about opening up a business like this, and like you're just hoping that there's going to eventually be enough traffic to where a business can crush it. I don't envy them for sure, but if you become that established first one right as something's going to crush it, then you get to become the one that everybody knows to and goes to because they've just always done it. Does that make sense? So it's an interesting time. I think Orlando has a lot of opportunities that way, and some of those, and that's actually one of them. T-Paz Lopez says, we need more consistent YouTube videos. Let's get together. Let's get you that silver play button. Yes, I'm halfway there, my friend. I am ready to go. Hugh says, these live streams are fantastic. So informative. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it. Where else can you get to have like, something you're passionate about and you get to talk about it, and cool people like you guys get to show up? Super honored. Let's see. Pickles says, hey, what? Hey, whoa, easy with the Lions, the Detroit Lions icon here. It's going to make me too excited. So happy Thursday, watching from Mineola. Appreciate your insights. Of course. Thank you for watching, Pickles, and go Lions. Siobhan says, any thoughts on, did I say that right? Yeah. Siobhan says, any thoughts on Ocoee? Like, I think there's some really great pockets of Ocoee, and there's some not as nice pockets of Ocoee, especially right around the 429 area. I just flipped a house there maybe 18 months ago, and I was just surprised to see like how much house you could actually get in that area. There's, city services and some other stuff, to look into, but I think it's definitely in a more of an affordable area. It's not as far as Apopka, but you are still close to like downtown Warren Garden and a lot of other really great things. There are some newer neighborhoods in Ocoee that have come online that people love. There's a Mattamy neighborhood over there. There's a new Lennar neighborhood that's just got finished out. I think it's Eden. It's gated over there. And then there's some areas that, need some love. And so you just got to be careful, like kind of what spots you're over there. Javi says, any news on the Hamlin Food Hall? Thanks for all your on my lives. Yeah. So that I cover on my lives. So Hamlin Food Hall, they say it's coming online, but I think what's going to actually happen is the Tiki restaurant's going to be first. Based on what I can see and where they're moving dirt, it appears as though they're moving forward pretty quickly to the Tiki restaurant right next to the Sinopolis. And once that happens, I think there'll be more stuff that comes online. As somebody who lives over in that area, like I really hope Pop Stroke does come. I think that would be a really welcomed thing over there. Static says, hey, do we sell in Ocala or Winter Haven? Only places that seem to be on my price range. We do have an agent on our team that sells Ocala. Winter Haven's a little far, but we do have referral partners, people that we trust down in that area. Happy to work out something with you for sure. Hobby says, oh, shout out to Emily, who helped us purchase a townhouse in 2022. We love her. This is a great question. Here we go. This is a good one. These are all good questions, but I love this one. So Lorraine over on LinkedIn actually says, hey, what are your thoughts about Celebration for full-time living? It's interesting. I used to live in Celebration full-time, and about 30% of the neighborhood, it's their second home. And so you'll see kind of some of the pockets of Celebration where you're like, there's nobody living there. There's nobody living there. The neighborhood is like very tight on overall making sure that the grass is taken care of. And so nothing's ever overrun. There's no short-term rentals allowed. And they've gotten really, really specific on that sort of thing. Like they'll fine you out the backside if you do a short-term rental. And so in that, it feels community centric. And yet you do know that like, whatever, at least 1 out of 4, if not 1 out of 3 houses are vacant at some time during the year. That being said, they've got great like food truck rallies downtown. They've got some new restaurants. The Mexican restaurant just expanded down there. You've got all of Island Village, which is coming online, and there's a lot of people moving back there. One of my favorite places to get a haircut is actually in Island Village in Celebration now. They moved or opened a second location from Windermere. And so, yeah, I think it's great. I think it just comes down to like your lifestyle and what you're after. If you're hoping to have something that's more in that idyllic new urbanism vibe where it feels like Mayberry, Celebration's your spot. If you want to be close to Disney, Celebration's your spot. If there's, if those are important to you, I like it. I think it's hard to go wrong there. Stanley, this is a good question. Any good alternatives to Lake Nona Golf and Country Club? I love the security and it being golf community, but it seems a little bit out of my price range. Have you checked out Eagle Creek? It's right down Narcoossee, and it's gated golf neighborhood built by Jones Homes, and they're nice houses and definitely cheaper than Lake Nona Golf and Country. Not cheap, but cheaper. Also, there's Toll Brothers, not a golf community, but if you're looking for gated, they've got another neighborhood right next to Laureate Park in Lake Nona. Beautiful homes. It's only, I think, 40 to 50 homes back there. They're not as expensive as Lake Nona Golf and Country, but not that much cheaper either. But Eagle Creek's a great option. And then check out the other one right there by Toll Brothers. I think Laurel Point is what it's called. Matt asks, how long are we going here? Oh, we got a couple more minutes. Matt asks, I love these questions, by the way. Keep them coming. Hey, does Horizon West have any fenced backyards? I only see small lots on the MLS and dense developments. Yeah, so that you're allowed to fence your backyard for sure. They usually have like 2 or 3 options. It's either like aluminum fencing or vinyl fencing. And they'll say, hey, these are the 3 or 4 you're allowed to use, but you can definitely fence in your backyard, even if you don't have a pool. If you have a pool, it's required. If you don't have a pool, you can still get away with it. SVG says, hey, do you like Mount Dora? Seems really calm. Also seen Redtail and Sorrento, but don't know much about those areas. You're speaking our language. So we have an agent on our team that lives in Redtail, and I think we've sold 11 there or so in the past 2 years. So selling a lot in the area. Mount Dora is fantastic. I love the downtown area. It is super chill. Unless you're there on the weekends, it's super busy and hard to find parking. But all of those little shops and the lake being right there, it's beautiful. My wife and I have actually thought about like, hey, when we like retire, whatever that looks like, would we want to get on the lake out in Mount Dora, just because it's a very chill vibe, and you're still only 40 minutes from the parks or something like that. Not too bad. JJ says, you wish the movie theater would come back to Celebration. So many memories there. Man, yeah, I can't believe after all these years that the theater is still closed down. The story is that if you guys don't know, in Celebration, Disney sold off the downtown area to Lexan Management, which there's some bad stories about Lexan, but they seem to be getting rectified slowly but surely. Anyways, the theater has been vacant because AMC, when it opened up at Disney Springs, didn't want the competition. And so they kept their lease in Celebration downtown, but shut the movie theater down and then just continued to pay on the lease because they felt like it would be cheaper to just pay the lease than operate a movie theater at a loss and or break even. So they just said, we're going to shut it down, send everybody to Disney Springs. Now, I think for the longest time, this can be like easy. Like if Celebration used that as if they bought out AMC and they worked something out with Disney, if the town were like, hey, we're going to make this like a community center, like performing arts center or something like that, I think it would absolutely crush. Parking might become an issue because if you start bringing in that many people, but I think they could figure it out. Halloween Horror Night starts next week. That's insane. That is absolutely wild. I cannot believe it. It's hot. Last year, I remember first week of Halloween Horror Nights, I was sweating horribly. I've got two on the books. We're going to go on the 30th. And then I think September 10th or 11th, one of those two. Yeah, okay, this is a good question. All right, I'm gonna call you VC because I like with a different change. I can't see. My eyes are not as awesome as they should be. So, hey, have I been to Bella Lago? I like it, but I've been told to be careful about Point Siena. And when I look it up, it says Kissimmee, not Point Siena. And so, yeah, it's confusing in terms of like mailing addresses versus where things are located. I like that neighborhood. I think that there are a lot of short term rentals there. Um, but in terms of like the location and the price point, it is kind of, I see the attraction. Now, Point Siena is getting very, very built up very quickly with not a lot of infrastructure. So make sure you make that drive a few times at different times of the day, maybe like 5 o'clock, and see what you think about getting in and out of that area. If you're going to use it for like, Airbnb, if you're going to just basically be there for a month out of the year, I think that's fine. But just, yeah, the drive is the only thing I think is the slight downer about it. Robert says, "Have I tried cocktails and stream? I have not. So I think we follow them on Instagram, but I have not. One of my team members went there and had a really good time." Matt says, "Hey, I live in Summer Lake with many homes for sale. If interest rates go below 6%, do I see that as a threshold for movement in inventory?" That's a great question. So there's been a bunch of studies that I've been going through. Lance Lambert, again, is like kind of my guru on some of this stuff. And they say that like below 6 isn't going to make the movement. It really is going to be below like 5.5 or low fives to really spur some people to where affordability makes sense. Into the fours, it's like game on. And I think prices continue to go back up. And so they need to find that balance, and which is why they're not going to make some massive, quick, quick kind of movement down into the fours. But I think a low, mid fives and below, we start to see some like pretty consistent growth. I think there's a lot of people. We talk to people now, and I see this as opportunity as a real estate investor and even a buyer. Um, but people are nervous about just like the election and what happens with interest rates, and is now the right time. And so you've got a lot of people that are just sort of like in a holding pattern. It's not even, affordability is most definitely part of the issue, but it's not an issue for everybody. We're getting on our listings right now, we're getting people putting 50, 60, 70% down and financing like a very small number. So to them, on that very small number, getting a 6% interest rate doesn't matter, right? But I think it more so than anything, like affordability is again is an issue, but it's almost a bigger block of people that I'm talking to, just like, hey, we want to wait till after the election, which also produces an opportunity for people, because if you're able to go into a seller and be like, hey, like you're not getting a lot of great offers, would you take less because you're not getting a lot of offers, and then you get a deal, or you buy down your rate, or there's like a lot of different things that you can do. I don't know. Anytime there's people that are scared, that's when opportunity creeps up. Sorry, it's more than you asked for, but I think the number's more like 5.5. That's a good question. Stanley says, "Do I have to pay my realtor to work with me now? What is this craziness?" Yeah. So for the longest time, buyers didn't realize that they were paying their real estate agent. It was really the seller would pay their listing agent. The listing agent would pay the buyer's agent. So now you actually have to sign an agreement to say like, hey, my buyer's agent charges X. I want like, for like legality reasons, I can't say like what we charge. I can tell you what we charge when we have a one-on-one consult, but I can't say it to the masses because I don't want it to seem like price fixing. But like in general, people charge between 0 and a higher percent. And you say, hey, I charge this percentage to work with you as your buyer's agent. Now, the seller or their agent could offset some or all of that fee, depending on the house that we show you. And so you have to make a decision like, A, you want to work with a really great agent who knows what they're doing, because if you're just signing up to work with somebody who just is like, who knows, and maybe they're not a good negotiator, or maybe they're not asking the questions that they should, it's going to cost you more now. So before, it could be like, hey, I know somebody who kind of sells real estate every once in a while, and they open a door for you and somehow they fumble through the paperwork and you eventually make it to closing. Those agents are going to have a very hard time because they don't have the value to prove to people. And so now it's like we have a set fee that we charge as buyers agents. The sellers, just like they always have, offset some of that cost, or the listing agent offset some of that cost. And if it comes down to it where they're not willing to offset the cost, you and I have to make a decision. Are you going to pay that difference, or are we not going to buy that house, or something else happens? So that's kind of the world we're in now. And so every house that you see, you have to sign an agreement to see it now. Agents can't just open doors for you without any kind of agreement. So we have things called, this is like by law, like now, like, so if you're a real estate agent and you're underneath the National Association of Realtors, by law, their laws, you have to have a touring agreement, which basically says, this is what I charge if you buy a house with me. Or you have a buyer brokerage agreement, meaning it spells out here, if I'm going to commit to each other, and by the way, you can cancel this anytime, but if we're going to work together, this is what I will do for you, and this is what I charge. So it's very, very clear. So that's the craziness that's going on. Just different, but really at the end of the day, basically the same. Lot more paperwork and work on our end, but more clarity and hopefully transparency for buyers. Long-winded way of answering your question there. Hope that makes sense. Pyro says, gosh, that sucks. I'm already a father struggling to come up with just my down payment and closing costs. Yeah, that was what a lot of real estate agents were saying at the time. And now listen, that just means like you're not paying at the time that we sign an agreement. You're only paying at closing. So at a successful deal that happens, then the seller's either paying it, the listing agent's paying it, or you're helping cover some of the fee. And so, yeah, that was what we were always saying. But here's the deal: like the whole like lawsuits that happened, you can look it up if you want to. It is a little bit confusing. They were saying that basically like that real estate agents were price fixing. But like in my experience, I saw stuff on the MLS that was $1 commissions and way up, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8% commissions. And so it was always all over the place. But they were saying that there wasn't enough transparency in the transaction between us and the buyers. So now we've got this new world we're in. Spencer and fam, hey, checking in from Wiscow now and Four Seasons at Mystic Dunes in a few months. Cheers. Cheers to you. That's awesome. JJ says, hey, are you saying now that I just pay my seller agent 3%? I don't pay the buyer's agent when I go to sell? No, that's where a lot of people are getting it wrong. Like you could have always done that. You could have said, hey, I just pay my listing agent. I am not going to incentivize a buyer's agent. And in that, you're going to probably get rid of 90% or something. I'm like, it's the great majority of buyers who are working with agents. You could have always done that. But it's a marketing tool to say, hey, I want to incentivize those 20,000 other agents that are here in Orlando to bring a buyer to the table. And so my job as a listing agent is like, I want to show every buyer that's out there and every agent that's out there your home. And if you tell me, hey, I'm going to pay you only your fee, okay, well, then now you just kind of like handcuffed me to only show a very small part of the market, if that makes sense. Yeah, so you could always have done that way. It's just something that we don't suggest, because to me, it's like if you want to actually sell your house, we have a menu of services on our team where like you start on like a lower package, basic package, and then the more marketing exposure you want, the more that we charge. So it's a whole thing. I don't want to get into commissions on a live on YouTube, but that's kind of the overall crux. Don says, we just sold our house and paid both sides. I think that's how most things are going to continue to happen. And yet at least the conversation's going to happen. And this is the thing, Don, is like not enough real estate agents were being professionals and explaining all of this. And so in that, the whole industry got caught up in this idea of like, hey, if you don't talk about it, it'll be fine. And then turns out it wasn't fine. And so now we're forced to have paperwork and have to have these conversations. And I think at the end of the day, it's going to make everything a little bit more clear. And it's for us as our team, we're actually excited about it because I think more people are going to be attracted to quality and like actually start interviewing their buyer's agent instead of being like, hey, I've got a buddy over here. Maybe you should use him. Elite Drop says, so if I go into Zillow and I click on a house and I see it, I can't just have one of those random agents they recommend tour a house without signing a contract now, LOL. Yeah, that's the crazy thing. So you actually have to sign what they call a touring agreement, where you say that if you buy that house that you're going to, owe a fee, or they're not going to represent you. They represent the listing agent. But most of the times when you're on realtor.com or Redfin or Zillow or any of the other websites, the agent that they put on the website is typically not the listing agent. It's an agent that buys leads from Zillow and realtor.com. And then you work with them. So yeah, if you go on Zillow, you have to sign a touring agreement before you're allowed to go into a house. Elite says, do you think builders are still going to pay the agents instead of the buyer, or will that be part of the negotiating? Yeah, it's going to be even part of the negotiation with the builders now. And so builders are like locally, I know two builders, very big builders. I didn't get the permission to like share like who they are, but like they're like over 80% of their business comes from real estate agents. They expect that. And so, yes, a certain amount of buyers just walk in unrepresented and, YOLO and hope it works out. But a great majority of them expect real estate agents to show up. And so they're upfront saying like, hey, we are willing to still pay agents. Don't worry, buyers. And so I don't think that that's going to change much. Claire says, hey, I'm hearing bad things about I-4 online. Should I live in a different area if I want to visit Disney frequently? So yeah, I-4 is not the greatest. It's one of the more like crazy interstates in the country. And because of that, you have more accidents and a lot of other things. And there's a lot more traffic. And because it's just has not kept up with the growth. Now, 10 years from now, they say it's going to be great because there's going to be a toll road down the middle and more lanes and a whole bunch of other stuff. And we're starting to see that, like as you get closer, like farther up towards downtown Orlando. I have not had any issues going from downtown Orlando up to like Maitland with all the changes that they've made. But right now, yeah, it's kind of a nightmare a lot of times. And so we find a ways around it. And so living somewhere off to the side of Disney, like Celebration, Horizon West, even Horizon West getting a little crazy, but yeah, pay attention to kind of where you're living, which is why when earlier someone said something about Bella Lago, yeah, like that's a long drive. Like you can get a gated community, beautiful home, great amenities, but like the drive isn't the greatest for a lot of people. Mr. Khan says, hey, Ken, if you're my seller's agent and I'm a buyer, if you are a seller's agent and I'm the buyer, can you be my buyer's agent too? Yeah, for sure. And our listing agreement sort of spells that out. And it's like, hey, if I'm the listing agent, this is what I get paid. If there's another agent, this is what we could potentially pay them if you want to. And then if I also represent the buyer, there's another fee structure there. So again, it's like clear as day. It's never been more clear than it is today. And again, I always have taught my team to make it really clear. And now legally we have to. That makes sense. JJ says, hey, Hunters Creek is perfect. Osceola Parkway takes you right into Disney. Also, the 417 to I-4 is perfect as well. Yeah, you're right. Hunters Creek is a great area as well. Very, very much so. The mayor approves. The mayor of Hunters Creek approves. Ooh, here we go. So new Peruvian restaurant coming to Lake Mary. You're from Miami. That's why I'm so hyped about it whenever Hispanic food comes. That's awesome. I've got a bunch of clients and friends and agents on our team actually that live up in that way. I'll make sure that we cover it. Do you know what the name of it is? Because I'd love to go check it out myself. Brand says, hey, thanks for your insightful videos. I was able to narrow down the right area to purchase. And I'll be closing a single family in Bronson Peak in a few weeks. That's awesome, man. Congratulations. Congrats. Well, listen, this is one of the longer lives that I've done in a while. And so we talked a little bit about theme parks. We talked about lots of real estate stuff. We talked about voting. We talked about all that good stuff and your questions. So thank you for that very much. So before you leave, again, if you don't mind, give me the thumbs up on this video. It means a lot. It pushes it out to the algorithm gods, and it does mean a lot. If you're looking to buy or sell a house anywhere in Central Florida, my team and I would love to help you when the time comes. Check out the orlandoreal.com/YouTube to get started. We'll see you guys on the next stream.